Hello. All right. Is everybody ready for the next 60 minutes? Yes? Yes? A bit louder? Guys, let's wake up a bit. Okay. All right. Then I would say, welcome everyone. Okay, now welcome everyone. Let's start the session. Welcome to HR Stage, which is brought to you by NFC and Page Executive in a collaboration. I assume since we've all spent the whole day here, we all know what NFC is, and nobody just jumped into this room. But maybe not everybody knows what Page Executive is doing. So please let me know who doesn't know what Page Executive or a Page Group is doing. Please raise your hand. All right, a few hands. Then I will shortly explain what we do, so everybody knows what this is about. Page Group is one of the leading recruitment agencies around the world with 5 decades of experience, 10,000 employees approximately, and hundreds of thousands placements every year. Also, Page Executive, where I'm from, is the C-level brand of Page Group. So we focus on C-level managerial positions. Now, as a background to why we're having this here, how did we come up with this idea of having HR Stage on this conference? John and I met on several conferences in the last year, funnily enough in Lisbon on the first one, and we figured that there is really something missing at at conferences. We talk about many things like gaming, music NFTs, we talk about DeFi, but hardly any main conference is focusing on HR and recruitment. But why is this important? Because if you want to succeed, whether it's in Web3 or anywhere else, you need a superstar team, a team that works together. If you don't have that, and if you have a team that destructs itself, it won't work. Your product will not succeed, or your mission will not succeed. That's why it's so important, and yet it's neglected. That is why we decided to bring this topic to the main stage, well, or at least the main conference, because usually we have it at side events. But we do believe that this is a topic for a main floor. So this is goal number 1 for this session, to bring awareness to talent and retention in Web3. The other goal that we have is to show the diversity of careers in this field, because maybe you are already having your projects in Web3, but you wonder how to enter a major Web3 brand, or maybe you're working in Web2 and you wonder, how can I transition into Web3 industry, and can I leave behind everything that I built up? Maybe I have family and I'm not ready for this Degen-style work. And yet there might be some of you who don't know that there are opportunities inside the corporate world to focus on Web3 as well. So you don't have to leave your secure spot, but maybe you convince your management to enter Web3. So to answer all these questions, we will have 2 sessions. First one will be a fireside chat with a leading Web3 brand, with someone who transitioned from Web2 into Web3. And the second one will be a panel with leading figures from Web2 brands that focus on Web3, and to show what kind of opportunities there are inside the corporate world. I'll be hosting both of these sessions. To give you a quick introduction to myself, my name is Ladyshenski, and I'm partner for Web3 and blockchain recruitment at Page Executive. And before doing this, I was building a big tech team in recruitment for Page, one of the biggest ones. And now I'm starting back from scratch because I feel this is a topic I really have passion for. I used to be a retail investor myself. I'm still investing. But I figured that it's really a topic that doesn't get enough attention from normal recruitment agencies. And I'm happy to pioneer this development in my recruitment agency. And yeah, if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to approach me. Also, since we don't have much time right now and we'll focus more on case studies, there will be no statistics on employment opportunities in Web3 today. no average salaries, which are always interesting to candidates, as well as no answer of the questions of what is the favorite blockchain of candidates or things like that, since we just don't have the time. But feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or to add me there, because in the next weeks we'll publish more and more information on our findings based on thousands of interviews with Web3 candidates. So I'm sure this will be interesting. And if you're interested in that and getting regular updates on this, then feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Yeah, but now I would say I'm very, very happy and excited to welcome one of my favorite people in Web3, Miss Shannon Snow from World of Women. Please, a warm welcome. Hi. Yeah. It's a playground stage, after all. Okay, Shannon, welcome. I'm so happy you came here from Miami. Guys from Miami, she flew in on Monday, I think. And I'm really happy to have you here. And I would say before we start deep diving into World of Women and what you're doing there, maybe you can give us an overview of your own career, because you started working at Google and also for Meta, and then you made your transition into the Web3 world. Maybe you can tell us more how you became CEO of World of Women.
Absolutely. Well, Anna, thank you so much for bringing this topic. I think it's really important, especially because we don't grow this industry and we don't grow Web3 if we don't have amazing people. So thanks to everyone who chose to be at this panel versus at the bar. I feel like that's the first step in your Web3 career, so you guys rock. And yeah, a little bit of background about me. I'm the COO of World of Women, but prior to that, I spent 15 years in tech, 10 years in Silicon Valley leading and building teams at Google, and almost 5 at Meta, where I led the US entertainment division, helping big brands in entertainment move into the metaverse. And I think what's interesting is, you think about these companies like Google and Meta, they're so big, but a lot of them becoming big is recruitment and building teams. When I started at Google, it was 5,000 people. When I left, it was 150,000, and now it's 190,000. There were years where I interviewed hundreds of candidates, and I actually did a quick accounting, and I think it's probably conservative to say I've interviewed 750 candidates in my career.
Wow.
And easily, looked at thousands of resumes. So it is so true that over the course of your career, so much of what we do is finding the right people, developing them, and growing them so they can be successful. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
Cool. Thank you. And how did you actually start working for World of Women? I mean, you've been working for, I think Meta was the last position, and then there was this big announcement, I remembered, in all social media channels that you're entering World of Women. How did that happen? Like, did you approach each other? Did you use a recruitment agency? Or?
So there's some things about how I got into World of Women that I would recommend in terms of how you would transition, and there's some things that I wouldn't recommend. What I would recommend was I was already a member of the World of Women community. I was a holder. I was passionate about the brand, as someone who got into tech because I saw the power that technology had to democratize information, democratize power. I saw that World of Women was doing that, using Web3 to make the world a better place and showcase our values, being more inclusive to women and diverse people. And so it was a community that I was already really proud to be a part of. How I found out about the role was World of Women does a weekly Twitter space, and on one of the weekly Twitter spaces, they just happened to mention that they had a few roles open on their team, including a COO position. I had long planned to move into a COO role. I grew up in the Sheryl Sandberg era at Google and Meta, obviously a very iconic female COO who kind of carved that path for women impacting business and tech. And so something clicked, right? Like, this is a community I'm passionate about. This is a role that I know is in my future. However, it was a big jump, moving from a really established company to something that was emerging. So I did something that I wouldn't recommend that you guys do, which was cold submit my resume on the website and just let the universe decide. I wanted to just get a true read. Obviously, with many positions, you would try to network, you would try to find out who the hiring manager is, get a warm intro. But I did really want to get a sense of, did they see the connection and how my experience would translate? And, I said, if it's the right thing, they will give me a call. And I was very grateful that they did.
Amazing. How would you say, like, in retrospect, what things would you have loved to know before you applied for Web3 and before you entered Web3? Are there things where you're like, oh, I think candidates should know this about the difference of working in Web 2 versus Web 3?
I would say that Web3 is like startups on steroids, right? With any startup, the benefit is you can take more ownership. You know, you can punch above your weight class. A lot of times you have your job description, but you end up taking so much more, and it's a great way to grow and accelerate your career because, you know, there might not be that many people, and if you want to jump in on something, you can grow and gain those skills. And so I think that if you like that, you want to leapfrog in your career, it's a great opportunity. But Web3 has the additional uncertainty of, you know, changes in regulation, you know, fast-changing pace. And so I think that you have to consider whether you are in a situation where you like that ownership, you like that acceleration, and you're okay with the volatility, or whether you'd prefer to work in something that's more stable and predictable, which I would say Web2 is. Absolutely.
Would you say, like, if we look at your best wow moment in Web3 so far, what was that? And what was the moment when you maybe were like, God, I miss Web 2?
I would say there's been a lot of pinch me moments at WOW. I think a couple weeks into the job, you know, I traveled to NFT NYC, and you know, we were hosting a huge party with Madonna to celebrate Pride as well as the end of NFT NYC. And so, you know, prepping for that concert was out of control, and I was out, you know, in the media on the first time, you know, talking about what we're doing, and I was on Randy Zuckerberg's Sirius radio show and just talking about our activation and how we're doing this partnership with Madonna, and Randy was just like, yeah, so you're really casually talking about partnering with Madonna. And I was like, oh shit, you know, this is really exciting, and being able to partner with all of these iconic women and having someone.
I thought so too. When I saw the performance, I was like, yeah, I also wanted to be there. I had a wow, but unfortunately got stolen, so yeah, well, things happen, you know how it works in the space.
But I will say that, you know, what continues to inspire me day to day is it's pretty regular that, you know, when I meet impressive women that I look up to, people like Kathy Hackle, you know, godmother of the metaverse, you know, they always come up and say, oh, I hold a wow. And so I think that that's what really energizes me day to day.
And what's maybe de-energizing? Just be honest, what was the moment when you said, oh God, why am I doing this to myself?
I would say that especially for people who are early in their career, the building in public aspect can be really difficult and tough on your mental health. Especially, I mean, imagine, you know, being early in your career, you work really hard on launching something, and then you log into Discord to see how it's being received, and, you know, the feedback's not good. I think that we've all had that moment, and we've all made mistakes in our career. I was very charmed by the Dear Intern trend on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw it, but an HBO intern like sent some bum email to a lot of people, and they were like, who was the intern? And everyone started posting stories about mistakes they'd made, like dumb things that they've done along the way, and I think we've all done them. I think having to do that in an environment where you're building in public, and it's not just a mistake that you and your boss know about, but everyone in Web3, and it's amplified on Twitter, it can be really jarring. And it's one of the reasons that WOW provides mental health support to all of our employees, because sometimes you just need a little bit of support to work through that, because it can be very mentally taxing.
Talking about WOW, or moving more to your role at WOW, actually, what is your vision for the brand, and how does HR play a role in this?
So our mission is to build an inclusive future in Web3 and beyond. And our vision is that we are going to create a lasting global brand that includes the world's most powerful women and allies, and that we continue to scale our impact through IP activations, education, art, and activism. And so for us to scale that, it really means that we need to always have strong people in partnerships, because we're always working with brands to scale our IP. We've recently done some great hires on the product and technical side so that we can build more tools for our community to connect. But I think the really key thing is, because we're building for a long-term future, we have to have people who are comfortable with change. And a lot of times, you know, someone might have a skill set for right now, but what you're really looking for is the ability to learn. Like, what is your process for learning? How do you keep up to date with trends? How do you invest in yourself? Because, you know, with things moving so quickly, I mean, even in the last year and a half, I feel like we've all gone to this roller coaster journey of, you know, metaverse to Web3 to how does AI play into it. When you have a team that understands their process to learn and is open to evolving with those changes, it helps you create that lasting brand that we're looking to create.
And because not everybody knows it probably, I mean, we know Yam, we know you from World of Women, but how many people are actually working at World of Women now? What do they do? And what kind of skills have you hired in the past 1 year?
So we're about a little over 20 people at WOW on our full-time team, and we have probably up to 15 or more contractors, especially because we're a creative company. We often work with creatives and do short-term activations, and so we do kind of have ongoing contractors being hired. And for us, in terms of what we look for, there's a few hiring criteria. Certainly that learning mindset and the ability to constantly seek change. Being an expert in your field, oftentimes because we are a lean team, you don't have a full team around you. Like, you might be the expert in legal, you might be the expert in social media, and so having that domain expertise and feeling comfortable being the decider and being resourceful around that. Certainly teamwork and leadership. We're a global team and we have a lot of different perspectives, and so you have to be able to understand team dynamic. And then most importantly, passion for our mission, because we are in a wild industry, there's a lot of ups and downs, and I think that passion for Web3 and for WOW is what carries you through during that time.
And how do you make sure when you hire that somebody has this passion and these qualities? Like, what's your process?
So we actually build that into our process. Typically we will do a screen of the resumes with the hiring manager just to make sure we have the right skill set. And they'll go through interviews both with our recruiting manager, the hiring manager, and then do a team fit interview. I think that one of the best practices that I've seen, and I think Meta did this really well, was just assigning roles and responsibilities for the interview. Oftentimes, if you don't align with your team, you might kind of cover a lot of the same ground. I think it's really important. It's like, hey, for the hiring manager, like, you should really screen for the hard skills. Like, can this person actually get the job done? And then you might have another member that's working cross-functionally that will screen for teamwork and leadership and ability to take feedback, and they'll have a unique position, and that's what they will have to interface. And then usually when the candidate gets to the final stage, it will be myself or Yam, and it's really more about like culture, passion, ability to have impact in Web3, and a little bit like the longer term fit.
And how did you find these people so far? What would you say is the most effective way for Web3 brands to actually find the right people for themselves?
So one, always be on the lookout. Especially conferences like this, you meet so many people, and I think you can really get a read of what people are passionate about. One of the great hires that we had at WOW, Christine, who is our head of partnerships, I was on a panel with her a year ago, and at that time she was doing partnerships for my BFF. She was extremely well-spoken, so smart in the industry, and I was like, hey, look, I see you're doing really great things, let's keep in touch. We kept in touch, and over time she let me know that really her dream role was to work at WOW, and while we didn't have that role immediately, eventually we got to a place where we had the right role for her. So I think that coming to conferences like this is a great step. Oftentimes when you're at a conference, people want to ask, like, what do you do? I think a great way to answer that is talk about your experience, but really answer with, what do you want to do? Because oftentimes, even if that person isn't the hiring manager, isn't the person that you're going to get a job from, they kind of file it away, and when they see that opportunity, they might think of you. So if you are hiring, I think that we do work with recruiters, like we do obviously put it on our website, and we do source from our community, because I do think that people who know your product and community passionately are already going to have a head start in helping you succeed.
And since we're at a conference now, and maybe some people would like to approach you, what kind of roles are you planning to hire either now or in the next 12 months, let's say?
So right now we have graphic design open as well as a couple of technical roles. So if you're interested, please approach me. We're also seeking a couple of summer interns, if you know some smart college students or young people, one in social media and one on data science. So those are open now. And broadly, because a lot of our business is either technical, building platforms, I think that if you have technical or product skills or partnership skills, since we do a lot of brand activations, including the one that's going on with Cloudy Bay right outside this room, I think that people who have that partnerships or product management skill set are always welcome.
Sounds great. Since our session is coming to an end, maybe you have some final alpha that you want to share on the stage before we have to close it and move to the panel?
I would say from an alpha standpoint, for WOW, because we love brand activations, like please, if you see a WOW team member or myself, grab a ticket if you're a WOW holder to get a free glass of wine outside with Cloudy Bay. And in terms of other activations you can expect for WOW, we're going to be showing up at Cannes Lion as well, and expect a unannounced but pretty exciting sports collaboration over the summer. But for us, you can know that we're going to be expanding our IP and then focusing on being that powerful network for Web3 women and helping them succeed.
Shannon, thank you so much for giving us all these insights. And everybody, if you're interested to talk more to Shannon, feel free to approach her outside. Since we'll be continuing another panel here. But it was great having you here. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thanks, Anna.